Ah yes, tiny eldritch dwarves. Those wretched little creatures. You know, I thought I'd seen everything in my long and glorious existence, but apparently, the universe felt the need to humble me once again. Enter these pint-sized miscreants, scuttling around the library like misguided ants in a terrible, overcomplicated game of Where's the Gold? No, it's books. You imbecilic fuzzballs. Books. Not metal. Not gold. Just pages of knowledge and misery. But do they listen? Of course not. Why would they? They have cultural delusions the size of their misguided pickaxes. Let me set the scene. These dwarves. Oh, they don't even deserve to be called dwarves. Let's go with obnoxious subterranean saplings for now. Think that the bookshelves themselves are just glorious walls of metal, like some sort of ancient treasure vault. Perhaps it's my fault for letting them in the library in the first place. Maybe it was the slight echo of their mining songs that piqued my curiosity. You see, these tiny, stubborn imps began their excavation, not to read, no, not to absorb the multitudes of knowledge carefully stored in those pages, but to discover the treasures hidden beneath them. They believe there's gold, or better yet that I have gold hiding behind every book, because of course, the cosmic ruler of all realities has time to stash his ill-gotten wealth behind the Barthes, Foucault, and Jung sections. How quaint. They dug, and with every explosion, yes, you heard me, explosion, they left a permanent mark on a carefully curated collection of tomes that once contained the wisdom of ancient beings. And what did they achieve? A tiny dent in the spine of an already ragged book. Brilliant. I'd have been more impressed if they at least caused a cosmic tear, or ripped through some fragile knowledge of a lost civilization. But no, not even that. Just tiny bursts of sputtering noise and empty attempts at destruction. They barely made a dent in the fabric of reality, and yet their enthusiasm was nearly as contagious as a plague of never-ending paperwork. But it doesn't stop there. No, my dear listeners. These dwarves, these chaotic little rats, decided that the most strategic move would be to establish their headquarters. A tiny, shrieking bureaucratic nightmare in the form of a book nook. Yes, a book nook. Do you know what that is? It's where the dwarves made a tiny home, a miniature monstrosity, full of filing cabinets, papers, and endless forms. And we're talking the most ridiculous forms imaginable, ones that required them to fill out just to ask if they were allowed to dig another hole in my bookshelf. And oh, they had committees. They had subcommittees. They probably even had the audacity to have one titled Committee for Reviewing the Feasibility of Making a Committee for More Explosions. I swear, if I had a shred of patience, I would have been utterly fascinated by how organized they were in their ridiculous little quest to, well, destroy everything they touched. Eventually, they grew bored, which is honestly the only reasonable reaction when your quarry turns out to be books, and not the precious metal you're so desperately seeking. So, what did they do next? Ah yes, they made their way to my office naturally. Because what else do tiny, overly explosive bureaucrats do when they've exhausted their resources on meaningless destruction? They march right up to the pinnacle of cosmic authority and decide, let's mine the croissants. My croissants. Do you understand the goal, the absolute chutzpah? The minuscule blasphemers dared approach my desk, my sacred desk of divine snacks, to try and mine the golden, buttery, flaky gifts of the gods that I created specifically for myself. Their tiny pickaxes scraped against the delicate dough of the croissant shan's perfect golden forms. I could almost feel the collective groan of the universe as those tiny infernal hammers made contact with my blessed pastries. But did they succeed? Did they breach the eternal crust? Of course not. They were too busy shrieking at their tiny victories and warring over who could hoard the most crumbs. At this point, it became clear I needed to end this farce. So, in a moment of cosmic clarity, where I really just didn't have time for this, I summoned an appropriate box. I then put the box in a big box and that box inside a Carnex being shipped off to Olympus, where Hermes took over the priority mail. I even supervised at the docking station. And just like that, they were gone. All of them. Tiny dwarves. Their bureaucracy. Their bombs. Their exploded tomes, and most importantly, their egregious impertinence. I don't know what I was expecting, but it certainly wasn't this. Now those miserable little bastards will spend the next eons in the beautiful chaos of Olympus. Perhaps Zeus will be too preoccupied with his endless divine drama to notice them clanging around, trying to mine his throne for gold. Who knows? It might be a much-needed distraction for him. But do I feel regret? It depends on how much of Zeus's throne they manage to chew off before he rubs two brain cells together and realizes it wasn't the Fates, but me, his timeless friend building his character faster than his paternity test comes back positive. Anyway, I'm off to sleep, and my croissants are now safe and sound.